Is the bourbon boom officially over? We're going to be unpacking this today and just going into a brief discussion about the market, where the trends have been, and what's coming up next. Let's get into it. How are y'all doing today? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbinsane. Over the past decade, and up till COVID and through COVID especially, the bourbon market just exploded. It went crazy. There were record profits for all these bourbon companies. Demand had never been at a higher point, and supply was really quite low. We didn't know what was going to happen during COVID. Were they going to cut off our whiskey supply or not? But guess what? It still was there, and the market went crazy. Today I want to talk about the bourbon boom now, just to see where we're at with it. Is it actually over? Is it truly a market shift, or is the market just kind of stabilizing and leveling itself? So I want to get into all that today. We're going to talk about the distilleries themselves, the market, and just a little bit of everything that's going on now in today's day and what I'm even seeing on my shelves. That's a big thing, the eye test. You all can probably attest to this too, that you go into your liquor stores and stuff that maybe you hadn't seen there before is starting to sit there a little bit. Or I'll see pictures pop up on social media of walls of Buffalo Trace products like E.H. Taylor's, and I'm like, never over the last 10 years did I see that. So I want to unpack that a little bit today, and we're just going to go into it, and I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. So let's take a trip back in memory lane to 2010. So that's when this whole bourbon boom really started. From 2010 to really 2022, as mentioned, into COVID. The hype on bourbon was never at a higher point. The Buffalo Trace allocated bottle craze was just going nuts. Prices on secondary were just insane. The whole Pappygate scandal happened, so we got to see that all unfold. And it just made the hype in the limited bottles even more sought after. Everyone was still seeking them out even more. Not only during that time, but that was also the time of major expansion for craft companies. So we went from just a very few limited amount of craft whiskey companies to all these people wanting to jump on board, jump into the market and dip their toe into what the big distilleries were doing because the demand was crazy, so high. I used to be able to go to my liquor store, see my main Kentucky bottles, my Tennessee Jack Daniel's stuff too, and almost no craft. I mean, there would be 2-3 bottles maybe, just spread out of a couple local companies or big craft companies at that time. Nowadays, like my Meyer has to have a whole entire section or wall of just craft companies. Not only are there multiple expressions from these craft companies, but there's just so many of them. And honestly, from 2022 on, a lot of those craft companies either had to really back down or back off on their production or shut down. I mean, we've been hearing about some craft companies going into bankruptcy or having these issues. And really, that's rough for everyone. At this point, there have been signs that the bourbon boom is slowing down. These craft companies, as mentioned, are either going out of business or just not able to put out the whiskey they were before. And if they do, the price is just astronomical. The pricing versus quality on these bottles, not only for craft whiskey companies, but for big distilleries like this in general, has just gone downhill. I feel like every single new release out of a company, especially the big distilleries, I mean, they're the worst with this. It's a limited, highly sought after, special release. Like, that's the way it's marketed all the time. And they're charging $100 to $150 for these releases. That some of them are just 4-year expressions. Like, yeah, they might be higher proof, but we're talking 4 to 6 year expressions at $130 to $170. It's tough. I mean, in this economy, the way things are now, I'm not looking to spend over $80 for a whiskey, let alone $150 if I can avoid it. Granted, there's certain bottles out there, if they showed up at retail, I'd still be buying Weller, big boy Weller at retail. I would. Like, there's no question. So some of those bottles, but these still are not showing up at retail. And we can get into a whole discussion about Buffalo Trace and how and why their supply doesn't seem to show up with all their whiskeys. I love Buffalo Trace as a flavor profile, though. It's one of my favorite distillery flavor profiles. So sweet, so approachable, great for new bourbon drinkers. And they probably had the biggest expansion during COVID. They started, doubling, tripling their production, whatever it was, putting hundreds of millions of dollars into investing in laying down more barrels, aging some more whiskey. So I'm hoping that the market will shift for that in the future and there will be more of these bottles available for us. Only time will tell. So not only the rising prices have been an issue, but I think the collectors like myself, There's been a little bit of burnout that has happened over the years. I've certainly seen this as far as just tracking the secondary market. Not as many of those crazy, ridiculously high prices are showing up on secondary market, especially. Like the market certainly is regulating itself as far as secondary goes. But just collectors in general, I think are, as mentioned, like they're having issues and difficulty paying those prices that these distilleries are asking. Speaking from experience, I find myself having a difficult time with that, and I run a whiskey channel, so I want to get these bottles and review them for you guys, and it's still difficult for me to do it. So it's absolutely a thing, collectors in general, and most people are not collectors. They're just drinkers. So you're looking for someone who's going to be looking for a $30 or less budget bottle, and there's not many of those left on the market. A few good ones, but you're really not going to get the quality of those $60-ish bottles, which is really the sweet spot for bourbon to me. So what's the new normal? Has the bourbon bubble bursted? My God, say that 3 times fast. Or is it just a market correction and stabilization? I honestly think it's the latter. Demand is still there. I mean, it is. I can't just go to my liquor stores and pick up these bottles that I want to get all the time, these limited allocated bottles. People are still looking for them, and they're still shopping, trying to find it. But I think consumers these days are just being a lot more selective in trying to find the best value budget option out there. I mean, I put out videos every week about what are the best things or the next things you should be looking for to try to save yourself some money, still drink good whiskey, and not kill your wallet, I've tried to bring my brother on board to try some bourbons and some whiskey expressions. He is a big gin guy, gin, rum. I think the younger generation is leaning more towards rye whiskeys, American single malts, gins, rums, or even those non-alcoholic drinks these days, So there is definitely a market stabilization or market correction that has happened. There's no question about that. Will it come back? Most likely. I mean, it's probably going to be a cyclical thing, just like with anything else in the world. Trends come, trends go. For me, I'll always enjoy drinking bourbon, drinking whiskey. It's just a part of my, routine. I love doing this with you guys. I love talking whiskey and everything about it. I love nerding out about it, learning about it, researching about it. And it's a lot of fun for me, so it's not going anywhere for me. But I want to hear from you guys. Give me your thoughts on the bourbon market. Do you think the bust, it's officially busted? Or do you agree with me where it's just kind of a market correction? Things may turn around once the massive supply from these distilleries, these major players in the distillery companies show up. What's going to happen? Are we going to be seeing these bottles? Will they be affordable? Will prices ever come down? I'm not convinced about that, but let me know what you guys think. So the big question is, what's next for bourbon? To me, I think you're going to see a return to these value bottles I was just discussing. People are going to be seeking out the best value on the market. They're going to want to find $30, $40 bottles that are really, really good, drink really nice, and they'll be attainable. That's the biggest thing, attainable and affordability. I think going forward, the store picks and private barrel selects are really going to be the king of the market. Those are going to be the things that people can seek out because you can get a unique drinking experience every time you have one, and it's not going to be something you'll just find on the shelf. It's going to be, hopefully, at least with most of these labels that they're going to be putting out single barrels of, each one's unique just like they are these days, most of them, most brands at least. And you can still get some excellent, excellent bottles at pretty good value for some of the store picks they have out there. And the last thing I think about these bourbon companies is they're going to keep telling stories. I mean, if you read any of the labels on the back of these bottles, every single expression, not just distillery, but expression has a story about it these days. I think that's going to continue. It kind of gives you a personal connection a little bit to the label and the bottle. I mean, you hear Elijah Craig, father of bourbon, you know what I mean? So I think that's cool. I think the storytelling aspect of it really does give you a little connection to these brands. I hear about Jimmy Russell, Eddie Russell, Bruce Russell, 3 generations at Wild Turkey. That's cool. I mean, I have 3 kids, and I picture that with myself with whatever it may be, not just whiskey, in life. Having a legacy to leave to your kids, that's really cool for me to listen to as a consumer, as a father, all those things. So I anticipate more of that to happen, a lot of that to continue. None of that's going away. And I don't think the bourbon boom is over. I think it's just growing up a little bit. Maybe we're not at the end of the bourbon boom, but I definitely think we're at the start of the bourbon balance. I want to hear from you, though. What are those bottles you're still seeking out, if any? Are you searching more for those value bottles, or are you looking more for limited releases still? At price, as mentioned, the way things are these days, I want to know what the consumer is doing. Not just myself, but you guys. So do let me know your thoughts on the bourbon boom and just the whiskey market in general. If you haven't yet, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel. This was a little bit different than my normal videos. Normally I'm talking about top 5 lists or reviews. Do you like this? Do you like conversational stuff? I like talking about this. I'm a whiskey nerd, so I enjoy these type of videos. If you like them as well, let me know. I do want your feedback. It helps to grow the channel. So appreciate each and every one of you being here. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay insane.